All right. How you doing, guys? We're here. We're back for a Wednesday recap of Big Brother All-Stars 2. This is David. He's with me every Sunday and Wednesday. I'm Cam. I'm here every Sunday and Wednesday. Not really a whole lot happened tonight in the episode. But
the alpha got bested by the beta, but we'll get into that.
Right. But yeah, so let's see. Yeah, so we'll start off with the first thing we saw. The first thing we see, and it sets the tone for the episode, is Memphis basically saying, hey, look, Memphis is the target. He's been my target. And as we saw in the previous episode as well, he said he's got a little bit of unfinished business to deal with David, right?
Right. This whole dynamic is continuing where whether it's just personal or it's gameplay, Memphis just has this infatuation with getting David out, and that's the plan for him this week. He's hoping to backdoor him as he put up two quote-unquote pawns in Kevin and Davon, but he's hoping that he can backdoor him after the veto competition.
Right. Yeah. Hey, we'll get to the zings too. That one was my favorite one as well. And before we went, and normally I'm the guy that complains about stuff, and David's like the rational mind. Before we went live tonight, David was complaining that they went a little bit too easy on the zings. They didn't really hammer them home as hard as they could have, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I look back at some like the memorable ones, like Cody from BB16, where the only enemy he's made is Christine's husband. Like that's an all-timer for me.
Tough one. Oh, I remember that's an all-timer right there. That was an all-timer.
The Christmas one in season 19, where it was like Jason's. It was like the first day of Christmas. Jason brought to me like 5 broken legs or some like random tune. That was a good one too. But we'll get into that.
But yeah, so they start off with Memphis talking about what his plans are for the week, for the veto, all that kind of stuff. And then it kind of pans to David, and David flat out says, if he plays the veto, if he wins the veto, he's using it. So he kind of sees through this whole Memphis thing. And that's another big thing in this episode is good God, Memphis. Like there's two big fails, 2 big losers in this episode. The first one is Memphis. The second one's Davon. And we'll get into both of them on why. But Memphis, talk about how not to talk to people and having no social game as far as people in your alliance is concerned.
Right. I mean, this just goes back to him being the true restaurateur that he is, that owns like 40 restaurants in downtown Florida. I mean, he just feels like he can talk to anyone the way he wants to, and they'll just listen. But I mean, as proven tonight and as proven in his last HOH reign, he doesn't like when people tell him what to do, and it goes both ways. And, I didn't think his plans were like that bad, but I mean, you hit the nail on the head. His social game is just awful. And you're right, Kim. He's just so cocky, and I don't personally think it's going to have any impact on his game. It's just not good. Like
you can be cocky, but you can be cocky and smart. The problem is right now he's being cocky and dumb, and that's not good. That's a terrible combination to have, right? Like if you're cocky but smart, if you're like a Dr. Will, right, who was the cockiest, but the man was smart. He knew how to control it, right? Memphis is just unhinged right now, unleashed. But it's just terrible. The way he was talking to people was terrible, and we'll get into all that. So basically, he's telling everybody that when will that? Well, I think that's about to happen real freaking quick. That's about to happen soon. But yeah.
Next week or the week after. I mean, we're running out of people. It's just the committee. It's going to be the committee at some point. So
yeah, at some point, whoever stays this week and whoever's left off the block, we're not going to say who it is just yet, but they're eventually going to be 2 very valuable numbers in this alliance. It's 2 very valuable, because if you've got 5 people in this alliance and they split 3-2, and you've got 2 people, the people just pull them in, and it's 4-3.
Right.
But yeah. So then we go to Kevin. Kevin does this whole spiel. I mean, are you tired of this? Like I am. This whole "woe me, Kevin," block professional. I got to do something about this. Like I'm tired of it.
So his DRs have gotten a little bit more creative the last couple episodes. I liked his quote about saying David has a negative credit score of like 3,000 or negative 3,000. I thought that was clever. And him saying he's like a professional block artist and like come seek him for professional help. I thought that was cool. But, this whole crying thing, I think we both talked about this throughout the season. We're just both over it. Like, wipe your tears away, do something about your game. Like, come on, this is All Stars. But I do appreciate how he acknowledged it during his conversation with Davon, where they were like bonding over being friends. He had that DR where he was getting emotional, and then he's like, all right, I got to stop crying now and put my game face on. I'm like, thank you. This is what we've been waiting for all summer. So,
I know. He's got to basically tell everyone, look, guys, I've been way too emotional for the last couple of hours here. I haven't really been playing the game. I'm on the block, but let me refocus so that I can stay and you can go. Like, I don't know. But so we go to the next thing. Cody, Enzo, and Danny are sitting in the room, and they're basically talking about the way that Memphis is carrying himself, right? Like how he's telling them what to do. He's demanding. He's basically letting them know, hey, we're throwing it. All right, we're not winning this. And they go, well, what if the two nominees win? And Memphis is right. Who cares if the two nominees win? And that's best for him anyway, is if if one of the two nominees win, right?
It forces him into making a decision. I mean, Memphis, he even said, like, this is just what's funny to me is, like, he's self-destructing his game socially, and he doesn't even care because he's like, I'd love it if one of them were to win and I can make the replacement nominee, but I don't care. I'll gun for the veto myself and get more blood on my hands. So it's funny, but
this is
kind of right.
It's kind of what he does. Like, he had the HOH in the first week, completely talked down to everybody, disappears from the HOH, just as cordial, happy, go lucky, somewhat nice guy. He said some stupid things, but as far as the game is concerned, and then he wins HOH, and guess what? He's back to being a jerk and a douchebag, and everybody hates him. Like, this man, if he's smart, don't win another HOH. Just don't. Like, don't just sit back and let your alliance do things for you and just go with them.
He's got to pull a page out of Dan Giesling's book from Big Brother 10. I mean, honestly.
Right. You think he would have taken notes at this point, but
right.
So it says here, if Cody had to pick between Danny and Tyler, who would he pick?
Is this referring to like a final two pick? I'm not sure.
As a final two, or who's on the block now, or yeah, it's good. Yeah, we'll see. I would think if it was Danny and Tyler on the block currently, Danny goes home. If he's trying to pick somebody to go to the final two, I believe Tyler goes home. So it does kind of matter exactly what's happening here, right? Because at what point in the game are we? So, but how do you if he's in a final three, who does he take with him currently as it stands? Do you think?
Danny. I mean, as he could just, I think he would have a better chance against Danny in winning because he can just point at the fact that she's played like a wishy-washy game, and he probably had a bigger target coming in the sense that he was like this physical threat, and he was able to lower his threat level after winning the first HOH in an All-Star season. Plus, he has all these connections, and he got everyone to trust him. Whereas Danny's just been playing wishy-washy, and she's, honestly, as we've talked about, kind of still lucky to be here. I mean, granted, the committee is staying together, but she has been really trying to blow that up, as we've touched upon. So I think the safer pick will be Danny there, and, if it's Cody versus Tyler, that's going to be a toss-up, honestly. I mean, people aren't going to forget how close Tyler came to winning last time, so I feel like he'd have a better chance beating Danny in that situation.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd agree with that. So the next thing we see, here's another theme of the episode, which was so frustrating to watch and see, is Davon. Goodness, girl. Like, you start off great. She starts off great. She says basically she sees that either he's working with them, or in regards to David, either he's working with them or he's being backdoored. That's correct, right? That's the two options that you should be thinking at this point. That's as accurate as she gets in the whole episode.
And then right after that, she says what is the equivalent to the BB viewers as nails on a chalkboard. She says, if I get house guest choice, I'm going to pick Nicole. And Kevin, if you get house guest choice, you need to pick Danny because they're on our side. So
they're still in the dark. They are still in the dark. And honestly,
you hear this, like, the players always say this tongue-in-cheek throughout the seasons, like, you're going to watch this back and you're going to look so stupid. Davon, I hate to say this. Like, I love you. Like, I thought she went out way too early in 17. Love her DR throw all her seasons, and her reads have been decent in her first couple seasons, but this season she is just so far off. And I mean, it's going to be tough for her to watch this back, I think, but I mean, hopefully she can make it out of this week. But
I know, like just the whole episode, man. It's just she makes a statement, she takes a position, and she's wrong. Like it's just every single time in this episode. But yeah, so she says she sees the back door coming, and again, she goes, instead of like trying to think, well, maybe I can do something about this and get somebody else on the block other than one of us that's in trouble. She says, "Sure, great." I'm like, what? Like, no, what? Like, so you're okay possibly just sitting next to David on the block and there's a 50-50 chance he's either target or he's working with them? Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Right. It's just, she's just still infatuated with this idea that David flipped on them and he was the vote to send home Ian, when if she would just stop and think, because this is the problem with Big Brother players. I mean, even when they reach the jury house, we've had plenty of jury votes where they're based on players being emotional. And when things don't go your way, you just turn super emotional. And that's kind of what's happening to Devon right now. She's just not playing with her. She's playing with her heart instead of her mind. Well, I love Christmas. I love the holiday too.
Listen, let's take a moment. Like, I know we normally do a recap. We go through the whole episode, and we're going to do that. But we need to take a moment here, guys. We need to have an intervention for Russell here. All right? He has this thing for Christmas, thinks she's a great player, thinks she's going all the way, and thinks she's winning. I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but guys, let him know in the comments that he needs to move on from the Christmas onto another player, guys. Just let him know in the comments. That's all we got to do. So she sees the back door. She says, great. And you already covered it. That was going to be my next thing, is they're sitting there and they have this brilliant idea. Her and Kevin have this brilliant idea of, well, when we win the veto or we get to pick for the veto, let's pick Nicole and Danny. I'm just like, my jaw literally dropped. I was like, this is insanity at this point. Like, this is just crazy.
Maybe I'm going too hard on Devon here. Maybe it's just more so how good Nicole and Danny are at this game, and it's just they're, really pulling a fast one over Devon. But I mean, again, like I know we don't like to do this, but we're going to give credit to Nicole and Danny. I mean, they're completely got Kevin and Devon in the dark, so more credit to them.
You have to at this point. They have got Devon and Kevin so wrapped around their finger, they're butchering their own game and not even realizing it and thinking they're making good moves. That's great gameplay. As much as we hate them, in general, not like, I don't want to say hate, as much as we dislike the way they're playing and the things they're saying, they're doing great right now. And they've got a good position in the house, except for with Tyler, who is, he's on to him.
Right, and if they weren't able to pull off this move with getting Nicole or Devon and Kevin to trust them, then they'd probably be the next two to go, and we probably could be seeing the committee fracture a bit earlier than expected. So, I mean, this move is it's going to probably be an underrated move once the season passes, but, I mean, this is going to kind of save them for a couple weeks.
Yeah, and so, so we're on the top of Kevin Devon. We hadn't talked about a good human moment in a while. Devon and Kevin have their little moment. I believe it was in the bathroom, wasn't it? On the bathroom couch there? Is that where it was?
It was like near like the bedrooms, I think, or something. I don't even know. It's like somewhere, but yeah.
I felt a little bit weird about this one though. It seemed kind of like they forced it into the episode. Like it seemed like an odd, I don't know. It didn't flow well with me. Like I don't have any problem with it. But it seemed like we were going down one arc for the episode, and then they put in this lovey-dovey human moment. Like, they had to find a spot for it in the episode.
Right. And we both talk about how we love how they incorporate these human moments into the episodes. I mean, I think it's important, and I'm glad CBS does it. But I'm with you. It just seemed a little weird and kind of dragged on. But, I'm glad they both found each other in this game. But, yeah, I mean, maybe there's just a bit of foreshadowing with that. Like, they're both on the block here. It's not looking good for them, but it's good that they're able to hopefully continue a friendship outside of this house.
Right. Yeah, I agree. So we get to the veto where they're picking for the veto. We've already seen that Devon and Kevin have the brilliant move of picking Nicole and Danny if they were able to choose their people. Memphis, I'm just going to set it up for we know what we're going down in the episode. Memphis plans to backdoor David, and so here we are. We're at the moment where David could get picked, change everything. We're at the moment where Devon, they could pick who they want for the veto. So Memphis reaches in and he picks Tyler, which is beautiful, right? Because that's literally the one person he had to worry about in his alliance that would not do exactly what he said to do, right? Like,
right, and that's not even the worst pick. I mean, we're gonna keep going down the list, and I mean, it's
so beautifully tragic what happened in this whole thing, right? So in the back of the mind, Memphis is like, he doesn't want Tyler to be, because Tyler's not really going to listen to him. He pulls Tyler. So then we get to Devon, and lo and behold, she chooses the house guest choice. And who does she choose, David? Tell the people who she chooses.
She chooses exactly who she said she was going to choose, and the one, the only, trustworthy Nicole Franzel.
We're not done, guys. We're not done with this veto yet. So now we've got Dave who picked Nicole, who's just ruining her game, and she doesn't even know it. So Kevin picks his house guest choice. David, tell us who Kevin picks.
The one, the only, the person who nominated him on her HOH, who he still thinks he can trust, Danny Donato.
Good God, what a nightmare. So, and they give each other, I think I saw this look, like when they scan to all the people that are playing in the veto, they give this look of like, yeah, we got this locked up. It's like, it's so clueless. Oh, man.
Like you were talking about probability earlier about having Devon sit next to David on the block, and like there being a 50% chance he's either work with Memphis or not. If one of them picks David for the veto, they have a 50% chance of one of them at least coming up off the block. They have David, Devon, and Kevin all competing. So that's 3 of the 6 players, and it's like the BB gods just threw them a softball down the heart of the plate and they swung and missed.
And this goes right into it here. He says she's a snake, but is good. That plays right into this, right? Like, they've got them so messed up in the head that they can't even think clearly right now. Like, they're just picking the worst 2 people you could pick.
Tragic.
I couldn't believe it was going to happen. When I saw Devon picked her house guest choice, she picked Danny or Nicole. I was like, there's no way Kevin gets it too, and Kevin picks Danny. Like, there has to be, they're not going to do that. I couldn't believe it.
It feels like it's, on a side note, it feels like it's been forever since we've had 2 house guest choice chips picked. I mean, It's just like you couldn't have drawn it up any better or any worse.
It's a little bit fishy.
Right.
It's a little bit fishy where we see them talking about it, and the next day, oh, there's another house guest choice. Maybe there's like 4 house guest choice in there,
Right.
I don't know. That was a bit odd. I thought about that. I was like, yeah.
Right. I know Cody from BB19 talked about that, where he feels like veto picking could be rigged and they could have more like chips in the bag than necessary. So I feel like that could have been an instance there. But, we'll let it slide for the...
I'd be counting. I'd go 1.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'd be looking at the camera at production. Well, we got 8 in the house, but 12 discs. Like, what is that?
Grodner yells at you, pick the dang player already.
Oh, if I was ever in that house, I'd be a production nightmare in the aspect of calling out production, like in the DR, asking questions, like they'd ask me a question and I'd respond with a question, like looking at the camera, saying things, like just singing. I would be a nightmare for production, but anyway, so this actually works against them even further. So now they're not. They picked Danny and Nicole. Now Tyler's radar's up. Tyler's like, why did they not pick David? We have a good old cluster of nonsense here. That's what this is.
And yeah, the one person who wanted to still work with them, David, we cut to a DR of him saying he's super disappointed. And he's basically, he doesn't say it, but he's like, I wanted to work with these guys, and he's pretty much done with them, and he's on an island himself. And then, as you said, we get Tyler saying Nicole F. and Danny must be having a side deal with Devon and Kevin. So now his spidey senses are going. He's got them on his radar. So, I mean, just so many different factions.
Tyler's looking at it, though, correctly. He's going,
absolutely.
3 people on the bottom. 2 of the people are on the block. They pull house guest choice. Neither of them pick David. So what is going on here? And he breaks it down. He's right. But in that house, like, what's the word? Like, image is everything, or perception is reality, right? So he's in there with the right idea, right, on what's going on, but everybody else is so screwball. They're like, no, you're wrong. It's like,
right. Like we get to, we'll obviously get to it, but Memphis says at the end of the episode to Tyler, "Oh, Davon and Kevin have no deals with anyone." Good God, these are all stars.
Right. Yeah, and it seems like Tyler does, even in his season too, his original season. I feel like he played in Veto a lot. Like, he got pulled a ton.
And I mean, it feels like he competes a lot. So
maybe all those discs are Tyler discs. Maybe that's what it is.
We're calling out. We're looking at you, CBS production. Let's answer our questions.
Right. Hey guys, we're bouncing around from 25 to 35 live viewers. If you guys would not mind, it helps out the page a ton if you click that like button, that thumbs up. It helps our show, it helps our channel, and most importantly for you guys watching, it helps Russell as well. So just click that like button. It's real quick, real simple. Doesn't do anything for you, but does a whole bunch for us. So we appreciate it, guys. Last Sunday, I asked for 50 likes. Did you see how many likes we got, David?
How many did we get?
72.
72. There we go.
72.
Good job.
I appreciate it. I'm going to set that goal at 70 again, guys. Please click that like button and please crush it. Let's get to 100 if we can. But we appreciate it, guys. So we go into the pantry. I believe it was the pantry or the side room. And we've got Danny and Nicole are talking. And you really see who the boss is here, don't you?
As you touched upon in the last episode, you'd think a former winner would be telling a former runner-up what to do, but it's the other way around. Danny's just telling Nicole, like, what the game plan is. If I win, I'm going to take Davon off because we need her in the house as a number. And then Nicole's just like, I want to compete because I want to finally win something. And it's just like the difference in mindsets. It's just hilarious. But
so now Nicole wants the glory. She wants the blood. Where just last Thursday, she was saying she didn't want to win. She doesn't want to hurt people's feelings. She doesn't want to pick a side. Now you want to pick a side? Like, now you're doing that? Like, come on, man.
Right.
Like,
just so much inconsistency. This season is, as you said, just a cluster.
So Danny looks at her, basically goes, if we win, we use it on Davon. If we don't even try to win. Like, and then just walks out. Like, just walk out. And Nicole's like took 2 steps towards you, like chasing you, like, wait.
Yeah.
And then, all right.
Right. Honestly. God, I don't get this season. I mean, it's like there's just so much like confusion that leads up to the most predictable results. Like, this season is just something else.
Yeah. And so now we're still before the veto now. So the veto hasn't been played. Memphis is in the room with his alliance, the committee. And he's basically, Cody's not there. Cody wasn't in there. But it's everybody. It's because the committee has Cody, right? It's Memphis. Right. Cody's in there. So Cody wasn't in the room, but everybody else is. And Memphis basically walks in. He basically he kicks the door in. He doesn't really, but like, this is the image you need, right? He kicks the door in, walks in, looks at everybody, and goes, "We're throwing it. You're throwing it, and I'm gonna backdoor David." How did they respond to that? Like, how did they like?
They were just like kind of skeptical, and he kept on forcing, like, it doesn't matter who wins. Like, I don't care if I win or if they win. Point is, one of them's just got to come off the block, and I got to backdoor David. And they're all like, okay, like, whatever. Like, yeah, sure, Memphis. I mean, they're all stars. They know to say yes to, whenever someone's going crazy. But we cut to a DR where Tyler's just like, no, like, I'm not going to do this. Like, I need David in this game because he's a number for me, and he's a number I can bring in. He's like, I'm not just going to do what you say, Memphis. And this has kind of been the theme of the season, whereas Memphis wants everyone in the alliance to do what he says, and Tyler's kind of the main outlier in that. And then we get Danny and Nicole just saying, like, I don't really like this plan. Like, I'm done with him. He's just so annoying. He's so hard to work with. So, he's found a way to rub his whole alliance the wrong way once again. It's laughable at this point.
How would you respond if Memphis comes in there, you're in alliance with him, and he demands you do exactly what he says like that? How would you respond?
Yeah, sure. Whatever you want, Memphis. But, I mean, again, I go in the DR and just, say no. But that's just kind of a tricky situation because, like, if you make him mad, like, keep in mind, like, I don't even, whether it's luck or not, he's the only person this season to have won 2 HOHs. So if he wins another one, you could be on his hit list. I mean,
let me tell you how I'd react. And I think we already know how I'd react. I would not sit there and let him just come in and talk to me that way. I'd look at him and I would be like, no. Like, we're an alliance. We need to talk about this. You don't just come in and demand something, And even if he does get mad at me, I'd be like, I'd look at the other people. I'd go, look, guys, we've already put him on the bottom of our alliance. Like, if he
as he's in the room or after he leaves, which he says.
Yeah, that would be after he leaves, obviously. Okay. But I wouldn't do that with him. I mean, that'd be too far. Yeah, I would just look at him like, guys, he's on the bottom of our alliance. Like, why are we listening to this guy and doing everything he says? Let's do what we want to do collectively. If he can get with it, he gets with it. If he doesn't, then you know what? He's out. That's, simple. But I'm just not built that way, where somebody could come at me, tell me what to do, put their thumb on my forehead, and make me call them sir. Like, I can't do that. It's just not in me.
I understand where you're coming from. For me, I just kind of want to pull I guess a Josh from BB19. I would definitely not be as volatile as he was in his season, but his whole strategy was, the way he explained it was in his final speech was he wanted to make Paul think that he can mold him into whatever he wanted, and obviously that got him to the final 2, and that's how he won his season. So that's probably how I would approach Memphis, because either he's going to keep carrying me along if he has all the power, or he's just going to self-destruct himself. So I just let him think he's running everything. But I mean, we could be looking at a glorious Memphis downfall here if he keeps being cocky. But I feel like he's a lock.
Week 1, and he squirmed his way back into it. But I don't know who the Twist legend is going to be, man. I've been running through some ideas on who it could be. Will is always a name that comes up, but he usually does the final jury when he talks to the jury. Evil Dick, but I think he's kind of not on the best terms with Big Brother because he's always talking bad about him. Do you know who it is?
I don't know who it is, honestly.
I don't either. The foods they have been down, so I don't think anybody else does. Don't put it in the chat, guys. Don't let us know who it is. Let us know who you think it might be, but don't tell us who it actually is.
It could be either. I'm thinking it's either Paul or Jesse because they're the ones who usually make an appearance.
God, please, God, no.
And Paul lives. I think he lives in Brooklyn now, but like he goes back and forth between LA and Brooklyn, and he lives like 20 minutes away from the studio. So it could be one of those two. The beard or Mr. Spectacular.
Melissa coming in with the hot take here. There we go. Memphis is my favorite person. He's the only one not crying or blabbing or entertaining conspiracy theories. Is that a dig at Cat from last season as well? Or is that a real thing going on the feeds? I think that's a Cat.
I can respect that. I mean, he has said some problematic things, but at least he owns who he is, and he's like, he doesn't really care what the outside thinks of him. So
he doesn't answer anybody outside. So when you don't answer anybody outside, you don't really have to worry about it, which is, but
right.
He's Judd, come on. Not hopefully Mr. Spectacular. I'm good without Mr. Spectacular coming in. Like, if he wants to come in and play the game, I'd watch it. I don't need him to do another spot. Like, I just don't need it. It's just he's not my favorite player to ever see. But
be fun to see him and Memphis interact again.
And Judd following up with the hot take here again. Maybe Donnie. Is Donnie a legend? Is he? She said legend. But to be fair, she did say this season was all-stars. So the terms are used very loosely.
All-star.
Oh, man. Jeff
Schroeder they're talking about.
Oh, Jeff Schroeder.
It could be him. I think that's a solid idea. As long as that's who Melissa's talking about. I could see him coming back in.
Jeff Probst. Yeah, bring Jeff Probst in. So in Memphis, this is kind of a pivotal. I think this might be a pivotal moment in the game, actually. It's not a huge conversation, but it's a big one for this episode. And I think the game is where Tyler and Memphis are in the little the love room, as I think you said we call it, is the love room, and they're talking about are they going to use the veto? And Tyler goes, "What do you want me to do?" And Memphis goes, "I want you to use it." And so they get into like this bit of an argument, and Memphis is a bit upset when Tyler says he's not going to use it because Memphis has this thing for getting David out, right?
Right, because he just has this like personal infatuation, which is like getting David out and proving he's not an all-star, and he's just like super angry because he's like, David's just like super threatening. He's not good to have for my game because he like deteriorates my game more than he helps it. So we got to get him out. And then he says the funny line of what is it? Oh, Kevin and Davon don't have any side deals with anyone. So just the whole dynamic of the house just goes right over his head. So Tyler did a good job of doing damage control in that situation.
Well, Tyler did a good job of explaining to him, why are we getting rid of David, who has nobody? After we saw this video, they did not choose him. They don't want to work with him. So why do we not just keep the two on the block, get rid of that duo? And then, David's a number at some point, which is what we talked about. Tyler's looking at it the same way. David's going to be a number in a little bit. Like, let's keep him.
He seems kind of like sort of open to working with Memphis, which is really interesting because when they made that deal at the end of Sunday's episode, he did say he's like either he's trying to backdoor me or this could be a chance for us to work with each other down the road. So, it's not a bad idea to, keep David and see if he can come around and working with you guys.
Yeah. Memphis made the week 1 alliance and is a jerk just to be the one. So I will keep him low on the list. Okay. Well, that's actually not true. That alliance that we have, the committee, was created by, I believe, Will and Derek. And
very fair.
And when they weren't allowed to come into the house, Memphis got them all together, and basically it was like, hey, let's work together, wink, wink. So
this season's boot order pretty much got decided like a month before the season started. It's just so tragic, but it's all because of Dan and Derek pre-gaming.
Yeah, and it's only I keep saying this, and I can't say this any like very much longer because it only takes one HOH to change everything, right? It only takes Kevin getting through, or Davon getting through, or David getting through this week to them winning HOH and putting Cody and Memphis on the block. That's all it takes, because once you get rid of one, the alliance is going to be like, what in the heck is going on here? Like, they don't know what to do because they have never not been in power.
And right, it's different from Survivor where, the people in power, they have the numbers around them to stay in power, whereas the people in the minority, like, you could win immunity, but if you don't have any other numbers to vote out a big threat, it's not going to do anything. So, in Big Brother, though, when you win HOH, I mean, you can put whoever you want on the block, so we all think Cody's set up nice. We all think Enzo's set up nice, but all it takes is a Kevin, David, or Davon HOH and can throw a wrench in the rest of the season, which I hope happens. This is getting boring.
I hope it was happening for 2 or 3 weeks now. I was like, so one of the people on the bottom needs to win an HOH. I thought maybe Danny would pull the trigger on that. She didn't. She chose not to. But
we came so close to having, and back-to-back weeks in the pre-jury, Janelle, Kaiser, and Davon winning HOH, and none of those happened. So Big Brother's just a game of inches, and
I know.
it would have been better if one of those prevailed, but still got a long way to go.
Yeah. So let's see here. So we get to the Zingbot. The Zingbot's here, and
he looks exotic. And where's Davon? He looks exotic.
And what's funny is I said, this is how much of a Big Brother nut that I really am. I said back when Tiger King first came out and I heard Tiger King, I said, what if Big Brother did a Tiger Zing? Because it was such a big deal. I never really thought that was something that they would actually do, but they did it. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, I'm a smart guy. but yeah, so do you want to go through some of the zings that the Zingbot threw out?
Yeah, so the first one was he's like Zingbot's he said welcome all stars. I'm excited to see you all here. And then he says, I'm not going to lie, I'm also surprised to see you here, ... David, which I thought was a good roast to start off with because, that's been the running joke inside the house and in the Big Brother community that David does not deserve to be an all-star after being the first one out. So he was a good sport about it, though. He laughed it off. And then, of course, I knew this was coming. We cut to a DR of Memphis saying, I'm with Zingbot. Like, yeah, David's not an all-star. Like, good God. They're milking.
He has a problem with David. Like, in his own head. Like, a legitimate problem with David. I don't know what it is, but yeah.
CBS is like milking the heck out of this too. I'm like, it was so predictable. As soon as I heard that, I knew they were going to cut to a DR of Memphis just clapping and saying, "Yeah, I'm with Zingbot."
My favorite one was Nicole, where they're talking. I don't remember the exact voice or the exact words, but basically it said, "Your voice is so whiny and moany." Instead of listening to it, I'd rather effing die. I was like, oh my goodness, that's a deep one. And she got upset about it. Like she knew it was, because before it even happened, she was heading to the bushes. Like she was trying to get out. So she knew that she'd done some dumb stuff in that house when she's hiding like that.
And it was to the tune of the wedding song, "Here Comes the Bride." All she does is whine and cry. It's great. And
that was great, yeah.
My other favorite one, which I think this is an underrated one, was Enzo's, where they're like, what's more pathetic than a 42-year-old man running around and calling himself meow meow all the time? Nothing. I thought that was funny. And he's like, all right, everyone call me Vincenzo now. That's it, yo. I'm done, yo.
He's done. He's retired the meow meow. He's retired it. But yeah, they were kind of funny, but like you said, they could have dug a little deeper on some things.
The Christmas one was good too, where they're like, what's the difference between you and the holiday? It's one of them is annoying, a pain in the butt, and causes everyone stress. And then the other one is the holiday. So they were basically just making fun of Christmas. I thought that was an underrated one. And obviously, she didn't like that one too much because she gave Zingbot a middle finger right before the commercial break for whatever reason. So,
oh yeah, she was upset. Let's see. But yeah, so my line of the night. So the line that when I heard it from this player, I was like, that's exactly right. That's how everybody should feel this game to be played, was Tyler. He basically said, talking about the veto, he said, I'm not one to sit around and let the game just happen around me. He's basically saying he's going to get in there. He's going to take his own journey, make people around him, he wants to do what he wants to do, and the game goes, he works through the game how he wants to. He doesn't just stand there and let it happen and then go, oh no, they got me.
I respect that, and that's definitely the right mindset to have in this game, and he has that mindset when it comes to dealing with Memphis. But at the same time, I love you, Tyler, but this is a little bit hypocritical coming from you because you could have kept Janelle and Kaiser during your HOH reign in week 3 or whatever it was, and you chose to take the easy way out and not keep them as shields. So, I respect it, but he's got to realize, it's kind of the pot calling the kettle black.
Right. So the veto competition, I kind of like these kind of competitions, but basically what it is they have 3 little mini tigers or whatever they are, different colors, different names, located in a big maze. And maze has the bushes that are too high, and they got to find the 3 tigers. And then in the maze also are 3 places to deposit the tigers with the correct name. So you have to move around, run around. The first thing was Davon sees a tiger and doesn't grab it. She just runs by it.
Right. Hindsight 2020, she probably should have grabbed it and then looked for the correct cage, but she just looked at it and then she's like, oh, I'm going to come back to you. And then whatever that cage was called, like the piglet one or like the pig something, everyone was like, what is this? And I just found her, it was funny what she said. She's like, okay, this tiger looks like a pig. Got it. And then she just runs off.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, but like if I found 2 of them, I'd be carrying 2 of them. I'd be carrying 3 of them. Like just running around looking for a gate. But she's like, when I find the gate, I'll come and get it.
You could only carry 1 at a time, remember? I missed that. I
didn't see that. I missed that. Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, right. Yeah, I would have grabbed that and ran.
Yeah, for sure. Even still, it was our first one. I would have grabbed it and ran around. But anyway, so the maze is going around and basically, and Nicole, what do you do? Nicole, like you throw the stuffed tiger into the gate, and then you go back and say, "Oh, that was so mean. I need to put the tiger in nicely." You're playing for a veto right now. Like the tiger is inanimate. Like just let the tiger go. Like
right. I felt like she was either trying to show that she throwed it to Memphis and she just lied to us in the DR, or she was like pandering to America for some reason. Like, I'm Nicole Friendzone. I love tigers and I want them to be treated like respectfully. I don't know. I don't know what her motive was there, but I thought that was weird too.
All right, so we got the veto results, and so the first one to show was Kevin. Kevin got 5 minutes and 33 seconds. Memphis was the next at 3 minutes and 29 seconds. Danny at 3 minutes and 41 seconds. So Memphis is currently in the lead. Then they go to Nicole, who is at 4 minutes and 22 seconds. So basically, 4 minutes and 22 seconds. And then we got Davon. Challenge Beast Davon. Almost 7 minutes. Good Lord. 7 minutes. She almost doubled up everybody else. And then we have the winner of the veto, Tyler. He did it in 2 minutes and 55 seconds. That's fast.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
putting a tiger in the wrong cage.
Right, so he was really gunning for it. I mean, I got like an inkling when he was, because everyone else jogs to the button to press it, but when I saw him like booking it to the button to press it and get the fastest time possible, I'm like, oh, he might have won this one. And it also has to do with editing. I feel like they left him last on purpose, and they do this in a lot of competitions. Like they always, quote unquote, save the best for last, and we saw Tyler go last. But yeah, he got what he wanted. He won the veto, and Memphis is very angry about it, to say the least.
Yeah, Melissa, those are coming, I'm sure. OTEV is a staple in the season. I'm sure they're going to have a word challenge at some point for the veto. A counting challenge. I'm sure there's going to be a counting where there's a bunch of different things you have to run around, count, and guess. So I'm sure those are coming. So they usually come around this time. Around when jury happens is usually when they start bringing in the classic veto competitions. But Davon, after the veto, wrong again. She says there's never an opportunity there's never a plan to backdoor David.
See, she was wrong again, and this is just it's kind of like painful at this point because I feel bad for her for how off her reads have been. But I kind of understand where Memphis or where Davon is coming from, where she thinks Memphis was lying about it because Memphis told everyone like, let's not try, let's throw it, and pretty much everyone tried to gun for it. So I mean, from Davon's perspective, I can completely understand why you think Memphis was lying, even though he really wasn't.
Right. All right. We're almost through the episode, guys. Let's see. Then we have a Tyler Memphis conversation. And Memphis like we've already discussed a little bit, he tries to bully. He just tries to absolutely bully Tyler into doing it. Would you say that's a correct word? He tries to bully him into it?
Yeah, he just kept, it was like he was talking to an employee who like messed up or like got an order wrong at one of his restaurants. He's like, why did you do this? Like, how did this possibly happen? Like, I told you to throw it. Why didn't you listen to me? So he was clearly angry about that. He tried to coerce him or bully him into like, using the veto on Davon, being able to backdoor Kevin or David, excuse me. And then we get this funny little exchange, which I love, which is Tyler's like, you didn't tell me what your plans were for the week, man. And then Memphis is like, no kidding. Everyone talks too much. I'm not going to tell anyone. So I'm like, thank you, Memphis, for that. Like we get a little hint of old school where not everyone has to open their mouth to get a plan done. So I appreciated that. But yeah. And then we see Tyler just do flawless damage control with Memphis. And by the end of the conversation, he comes around to convincing Memphis that they need to cut the duo of Davon and Kevin off. Because they have side deal, or primarily because they have a side deal with Nicole and Danny. So we get this from the last DR in the episode where Memphis says one of them needs to go home because we need Danny and Nicole focused on the committee and not on these other side deals. So excellent job by Tyler to change Memphis's motives for the week and who to get out.
Yeah. Because at the end of the episode, after we see that the veto's not used and Kevin and Davon, one of them's going to go home this week, we see Memphis say he wanted Davon out, but he realizes after speaking with Tyler that the bigger issue would be to get rid of that duo that's on the block. So Tyler did a phenomenal job of talking him down, getting what he needed. And this attributes a lot to what I said about Tyler, even in the preseason, is him and Enzo are the two smoothest players I've seen, with the exception of Dan and Will. Obviously, those are just standard, right? Like everybody knows. Right. But Enzo and Tyler are so smooth socially where they're able to get you to do what you don't want to do and make it sound like it's your idea.
And the fact that Tyler was able to pull this off with I almost called him Memphis, who has like the biggest ego of all egos. The fact that he was able to craft this into a plan that essentially is better for Tyler's game is just fantastic. So props to him. He's got one of the best social games of all time, in my opinion, Tyler, and he's that conversation.
Absolutely. So that's the episode, guys. Just before we get out of here, just to kind of recap with you guys, every Sunday and Wednesday, David and I do a recap show. And then every Thursday, Russell does Surviving Big Brother, where he'll have on former Big Brother players, and they talk about the game, what they think about the game, the players' performances on the game. And if you guys would like, you can join the Patreon group. We are both members of the Patreon group, the Russell Hant Show Patreon group. It's a cool little community we got. Close with a Facebook page. We do a lot of different things. We play online Survivor games, Big Brother fantasy drafts, all kinds of stuff, guys. You can join for as little as $5. They have different tiers. If you're looking to apply for Big Brother, Survivor, Amazing Race, all those shows, if there's certain tiers, Russell will help you out. He'll get in contact with you and help you out, get this video right. Please, guys, again, like the video, comment below. Let us know where you agree with us in the comments. Let us know where you disagree with us. If there's something in the episode that we missed and we probably should have discussed, put that in the comments. The last video we did was amazing, almost 1,000 views, 72 likes. We had a whole thread in the comments that we were discussing things. I think one thread was like 25 comments long. We love that. We get in there. We talk. Anything we miss, I want to communicate with you guys. So click the subscribe button, click the like button, click the notification bell. So Russell will be on Thursday, and we will be back on Sunday. You guys take care.
All right. See you guys Sunday.